Hi everybody, welcome to the fourth episode of the IX Studio Substance Painter Texturing Series. Today we're going to be covering folders, layer organization, color coding, folder masks, and layer stack order. Inside of Substance Painter, as you're texturing, you'll add many layers into your scene, and you'll notice that the layer tab becomes cumbersome. A good way to manage this layer stack is by using folders. I use folders to group layers that are for the same material. Suppose I was texturing a leather object. I would group all leather layers in a leather folder. Suppose this was a much larger layer stack. When it's all grouped under my leather folder, it makes it much easier to organize and to apply to different parts of the mesh. What I can do is I can add a black mask onto my leather folder, and I can select which parts of my mesh are leather. If I wanted to paint it onto the top surface, I could just add a paint layer onto that black mask, start painting on, or I could use polygon or select fill, and I can select polygons, or UV chunks. The great thing about folders is you can create a complicated layer stack inside of them, and then add a mask onto the folder, and build out a folder mask to designate where the stuff inside of that folder gets placed. It makes it much easier to do wear and tear, stuff like that. Everything you can use on a layer, you can use on a folder. Generators, fill layers, paint layers, anchor points, filters, etc. Now let's talk about color coding. Color coding is very important. Inside of Substance Painter, you can right-click on a layer and add a color to it. When color coding layers, you can use it to denote which objects affect which things. Suppose you wanted all of your height layers to be red. You can color code them red and it'll be easy to spot in the layer stack so you can adjust that individually. When you start color coding your layers, they become much easier to understand at a glimpse, because you can see which layers interact with each other by how you color coded them. Now let's talk about layer order. In Substance Painter, anything lower on their list is physically lower in terms of surface height. So suppose you had a painted metal object. The metal base would be beneath the rust, the paint, and then any grime on top. You gotta think about stacking things like it's a build-up from the base layer to the top layer. If you're able to do that, it'll become much easier when texturing stuff. The great thing about folders is you can use the masks on the folders to procedurally adjust where that layer stack shows up. Now in this example, I'm going to adjust where the paint is cracked and you can see through to the metal beneath it. In our metal folder, you can use things like the metal edge wear generator, or the black and white spots fill layer, paint layer, and then you can put an anchor top on top of all of that and reference it in the layer above, so you can use it to make things like paint. When adjusting your folders that have anchor points attached to them, make sure that any new layers or adjustment pieces are placed below the anchor point, or else they won't affect the layers above it. Great thing about this workflow is I can go in and I can manually adjust the mask that I get through this, and I can adjust it to my liking. I can go in, carve out different little bits, or I could cover it up, do a whole bunch of stuff. For example, I'm going to add on another fill layer. It's going to be a clouds fill layer. So first, move it under the anchor point, change it from normal to linear dodge, add the clouds mask. When working this way, it just makes everything so much more efficient. Now I'm going to roll some footage of me texturing some pets to show this process more in depth.